Which cryptocurrency is being attacked by the SEC after XRP? How long will crypto holders believe in Ripple? How much will XRP cost in mid-2020? 3. We will answer all these questions in today's video. Vocal crypto supporter John E. Deaton has hinted at what may happen if the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission succeeds in its case against Ripple, the company that created XRP. Will Ripple be able to beat the SEC? The 2-year legal struggle between Ripple and XRP has been marked by significant procedural triumphs for Ripple, leading XRP fans to hope that Ripple would ultimately prevail. Annalisa Torres, the judge presiding over the case, may cause problems for many crypto-focused businesses if she agrees with the SEC's argument that all XRP transactions, including those on secondary markets, are securities. John Deaton claims that this is the case. According to Deaton, if the SEC wins, Chairman Gary Gensler will have the political support and momentum to file similar claims against other corporations in the digital asset area. In a tweet, Fox Business writer Eleanor Terrett offered some observations on the recent closure of Signature Bank, prompting the XRP attorney to respond. Significantly, the New York Department of Financial Services announced the closure of Signature on a Sunday with no explanation. According to Terrett, ex-Congressman Barney Frank's shrewd comments suggest that this was all part of a plan to convey a message against cryptography. One of the leading companies in the cryptocurrency sector, Ripple, has developed useful applications for blockchain technology. SEC's bombshell lawsuit against Ripple and 2 of its senior executives for illegally generating over $1.03 billion via the sale and distribution of XRP cryptocurrency in December 2020 devastated the nascent industry. The token's future hinges on the outcome of the litigation, which centers on the issue of whether or not XRP is a security. Crypto experts generally feel that Ripple is now ahead in the drawn-out legal fight. When the court declined to invalidate Ripple's primary fair notice argument last month, the SEC also suffered a loss. The judge's ruling, which is anticipated in June, will likely be a watershed moment for XRP and the cryptocurrency sector as a whole. Nonetheless, if Ripple is successful, XRP may challenge $1. Attorney John E. Deaton has said that the emails and files connected to the preparation of Bill Hyman's controversial 2018 talk at the Yahoo Finance All-Market Summit, collectively referred to as the Hyman materials, would be made public in due time. According to the CryptoLaw founder's explanation in a Twitter thread from yesterday, Judge Annalisa Torres is likely to declare the documents judicial documents, making them publicly accessible with some redactions in her summary judgment decision in the United States Securities and Exchange Commission case against Ripple. In addition, he emphasizes the significance of the Hyman files in ongoing litigation by referencing the SEC's accusations that the Ethereum blockchain token Dargnin is an unregistered security in its case against Dragon Chain. The attorney reminds the audience that courts have previously approved SEC attorney-client privilege claims and that access to the Hyman files is more critical to the defense in this case than Ripple's fair notice argument. Former director of the Securities and Exchange Commission's Division of Corporate Finance, Hyman said in a controversial speech that Ethereum is not a security since the blockchain is sufficiently decentralized. As was indicated up above, this is the same blockchain that Dargnin was developed on. Moreover, Deaton said that policy researcher Dr. Rosalind Layton had filed a petition in the Ripple case challenging the SEC's effort to seal the documents. Deaton says he has also filed a Freedom of Information Act request, which he intends to investigate. Many in the cryptocurrency community were taken aback by the SEC's enforcement action against Ripple over XRP 2 years later, leading the Ripple defense to request documents related to the speech draft. Specifically, it raises the question of why Ripple and not, say, Ethereum was the government's focus. Keep in mind that initially, the SEC said no to Ripple's request, saying that Hyman's personal views expressed in the speech were irrelevant to the case. When the court ordered the agency to hand up the documents, they lied and said that Heinemann had written the speech with the help of the agency's lawyers, claiming attorney-client privilege. Dr. Layton said in her application that the data would show whether there were malevolent motives for Ethereum's free pass or if there is ambiguity among regulators, which would explain why industry participants are confused. The SEC would want you to think that it is concerned with transparency, openness, and clarity in the markets. You shouldn't put your faith in them. When the truth about their conduct here is out, you will be appalled when the blockchain payments firm Ripple acknowledged receipt of the contentious documents. CEO Brad Garlinghouse tweeted about it. One of the biggest headlines in the XRP community would be a relisting of the XRP token on the main U.S. crypto exchange Coinbase if Ripple prevails in its legal fight against the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. CEO Paul Grewal, Coinbase's chief legal officer, CLO, has discussed the situation in depth and outlined the steps that would be taken to relist XRP. Trading of XRP was halted by Coinbase in January 2021. Soon after the SEC filed its action, and has remained suspended to this day despite calls from the XRP community. While Grewal was optimistic about a Ripple triumph in yesterday's discussion with Thinking Crypto presenter Tony Edward, he made it clear that the subject of a relisting is not dependent entirely on whether or not Ripple wins in court. Grewal said that the U.S. cryptocurrency exchange continuously assesses assets to determine if they should be listed, delisted, delisted, or temporarily halted. He also has some comprehension of the XRP community's anguish. I realize it has been difficult for many XRP investors to be unable to trade their assets on Coinbase while this SEC lawsuit has been ongoing, said Grewal, adding that the SEC has not prevented Coinbase from closely monitoring the progress of the action. Grewal, like everyone else, is waiting impatiently for a judgment and has nothing but praise for Ripple's legal team. The defendants in this case have done a fantastic job pushing the SEC and raising major concerns about the SEC's overall approach, which is something I took note of. Some of Ripple's arguments were strengthened by this, and Coinbase even filed an amicus brief in their favor. Ripple CLO Stuart Alderety and the rest of the fintech company's team have done an amazing job. In Grewal's opinion, therefore, he has little doubt that Ripple will prevail in court. There will be a lot of problems shown with the SEC's theory. The trial judge's opinions on the arguments and briefs in this case should become clear very soon. The Coinbase CLO did note, however, that in his judgment, the ruling of the Southern District Court of New York is only the beginning of a rather prolonged process. In Grewal's opinion, it's quite probable that whichever party loses in court will appeal, and that the case will go through several rounds of appeals. Grewal stated that the trial court's judgment and the judge's legal rationale will determine how long it will take for Coinbase to relist the tokens, as well as whether or not the verdict would be upheld on appeal. So, much will be contingent upon the specifics of that court's ruling. Although Grewal acknowledges that this answer may disappoint some, he argues that the firm owes obligation to its shareholders to tread cautiously in this area and with regard to any token that is the subject of litigation in federal court. Finally, the Coinbase CLO promised that the exchange will begin conducting a review as soon as the decision became available. As much as everybody else, I cannot wait to hear the court's verdict and to share that as soon as we receive it, we will begin our process to determine whether or not we need to reconsider our listing decision.